So, Mark, I'm wearing my safety yellow today because we're going to talk about safety. You know, when I was coming here, I noticed on 95 there was cones out of workers and safety zones. Is that what you guys do?
Absolutely. We have a lot of work zones going on around the state. We have a lot of work to do to implement safety projects, asset management, resiliency projects, et cetera.
Yeah. So I noticed when I was going by there, it looked like there was maybe a camera there, this work zone safety stuff. I'm wondering, what made that decision for you guys that, hey, we got to protect our workers and cameras will help slow people down? And is that politically sensitive? I know people don't like to, have speed cameras and that kind of stuff a lot of times.
So we've been thinking about speed cameras for a long time. We've had the red light enforcement, automated enforcement program going on for over 25 years, and that's very successful in reducing crashes at red lights. And so we've been thinking about this. It is politically sensitive, so we didn't have legislation. And then when we started a project on I-95 in Wilmington in 2021, we saw, and it was a very constrained work zone. We had barriers on both sides. There was no place for actual live enforcement by the police, and what we saw an increase in crashes when the construction started off. And we had done everything else we could do from an engineering perspective with all the warning signs, all the drums like you were talking about, everything else that we could do, and we still saw this increase in crashes. So our secretary at the time, Secretary Nicole Majeski, really led the charge to say, look, we need to do something more to both improve the safety for the motoring public, for our staff that are out in the field, as well as for the contractors and their workers, all of the above. We want to improve safety for all the above. We want everybody to go home at the end of the day. So she advocated for that and was able to get us a special pilot program approved through the legislature on that. That project was called the Restore the Corridor project. And we worked with the Elevate's predecessor at the time, which was Conduit, and we got that program up and running. And then once it got set up, we saw great results. So we saw 5 mile per hour reduction in speeds, and we saw a dramatic reduction in both injury crashes and total crashes overall. So that individual pilot project then led to legislation that gave us a 5-year pilot to implement automated speed enforcement in both work zones like we were doing on the pilot, but also we had a lot of interest from several of our state representatives and senators for doing this in residential districts. So that's what kind of motivated that whole getting us into this 5-year pilot, which we're about halfway through right now.
That's really interests me, the lower speed, the 5% reduction in speed when people know there's a camera there, right? The Hawthorne effect, when you know you're being watched, it adjusts your behavior. But also that big reductions. I heard that it's something like 46% reduction in accidents in your initial pilot program. That's fantastic. I think about being a worker out there on the side of the road, people going by you 70 miles per hour. Man, that's a little scary. People can get hurt, and this is really helping them, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're seeing anywhere from a 5 to 6 mile an hour reduction in speeds through our various work zones where we've now implemented the speed safety program. And the other thing is their speed reduction, as you mentioned, it's because we're telling people that this is out there. We're not trying to hide this from anybody. We are completely transparent about this. We want people to know what we're doing and that the automated enforcement is set up. We do press releases. We do social media. We talk to the press whenever the press wants to talk about it. And of course, we have at least 6 signs coming into these work zones, the static signs, as well as the variable message signs and the speed signs that tell you how fast you're going. So we are doing everything we can to tell you that this is an area, it's a work zone. We really need you to slow down. Again, we have an unusual situation. The work zone by definition is not normal conditions, so it's going to be a little unusual. People aren't used to it. And then, like we've been talking about, we have our workers are there and they're right next to traffic. Our contractors are there, they're right next to traffic. And if you haven't been in that environment, it's scary, it can be dangerous. You have to have your head on a swivel, and anything we can do to reduce speeds and then that's going to reduce the crashes in these work zones for all involved, the workers as well as the traveling public. And then what we see is that for any reduction in speed that we can get, there's massive benefits from a traffic safety standpoint with that. So first off, you're reducing the chance that that you're going to get into a crash at all. You have a bigger gap, a longer time to make your reaction to an unusual movement. If somebody weaves in front of you, if somebody slams on their brakes, if there's a malfunction in the vehicle. And then if you do get into a crash, if you're going slower, the chance of of an injury or a fatality is significantly less the slower you're going. So that's why we reduce the speed limits in a lot of our tight work zones, like the ones that we have going on right now, and why we're very enthusiastic about the speed safety program that's letting us get some of those speeds reduced, and more importantly, in reducing the crashes.
So if other DOTs around the country that maybe haven't entered this program yet are thinking about it, do you have any lessons learned, like when you set up a program like this? It sounds like it's very well thought out.
So the one would be is if you have the opportunity to help mold the program, would be definitely make it safety driven, not revenue driven.
Yeah, I love that.
So revenue may be a part of it, and both with our red light program and our speed program, some locations we expect we're going to bring in more money than we pay out. Others might be less.
Okay.
But it should really be safety driven, and that is baked right into state code in Delaware, at least in our 5-year pilot program. That it's very well defined of what types of roads it can be put on, and the safety emphasis of this program. And then if we do bring in more revenue than our expenses on the program, that it's very well defined that excess revenue has to be used for specific safety projects. It could be a DOT type project that's safety driven. It could be enforcement again, or education. So it can be used for a variety of things, but it has to be related to transportation safety. So that I think reduces some of the angst from some in the public, or some who again might perceive that this is just a money generating exercise, is that the excess funds, if there are any, has to go to safety projects.
That's great. Well, it sounds like you got it all thought out, man. Thanks again for telling us something about it today. It's
Great.
important,
Yes.
not just for the motorists, but for the workers on the side of the road.
100% agree. Thanks for having me.
Well, Paul, welcome to Delaware Transit Corporation, the operator of DART First States, our Dover Administration and Maintenance and Operations building. I understand you've been checking out the state so far a little bit.
Yeah, it's been great, John. Thanks for hosting us. You got a great staff. They've done an amazing work. So tell us some about the agency itself, because you're very unique.
Yes.
I mean, you're a statewide agency.
So the Delaware Transit Corporation was formed in 1995 to run statewide public transit for the entire state of Delaware. Why we're a small state, we're a little bit diverse state. So up in Newcastle County, we have the city of Wilmington, which is a key city actually in the country, because it's where a lot of companies are incorporated in Delaware, and they do a lot of business there. But we're almost a little bit of a suburb of Philadelphia. We have our SEPTA services that come in, rail services that come in and help us connect the metropolitan area of Philadelphia and Wilmington and South Jersey. As you come down the state, we're here in Dover, the capital of the first state, right? So we're about to celebrate the country's 250th anniversary. We're proud to be the first state in the nation in ratifying that. So we were the first to sign the Constitution in 1787, so a little bit after the Declaration of Independence. Our state government's run out of here. We have Dover Air Force Base, which is a major Air Force base in the country. It's probably known best for fallen soldiers and military come here, and the dignified transfer there. So the president is unfortunately here too many times to do that activity. And then and it's a suburban area in Dover here, and then we go down to Sussex County, a lot of farmland, but we have some of the country's greatest beaches and resort town.
Yes, you do.
And we have a lot of people retiring from the Mid-Atlantic coming to this area. Delaware is a great place to live.
No sales tax.
No sales tax, low property tax, and then the beach community is just wonderful. We have beaches along the Atlantic Ocean, up the Delaware River, and we have bays and lots of activities, lots of great restaurants and things to do down there. So in the summertime, we started a couple of weeks ago with our beach bus service, which we ramp up to just get people down to the boardwalks in the resort community. There's a ferry that comes across from Cape May that connects us to South Jersey. We connect Ocean City, Maryland. So overall in our system, we're a fixed route system, obviously. So we provide local fixed route in each of the areas. We connect that with inter-county bus service. I mentioned we have the SEPTA commuter rail service coming into Newcastle County. We have a couple of microtransit routes and we're going to continue to expand them. But what we're known most for in the industry is we do statewide paratransit door to door. We were the first in the nation to do that about 52 years ago.
Wow.
And so we continue to do that. It is a big part of our service. It's actually bigger than our fixed route service and the number of operators and buses that we do.
Wow.
But it's so critical to the community that we serve, who might not be able to get around, get to medical appointments, get to daycare type services, adult daycare, whatever those type of services, or even just go to church, go to a restaurant, go to shopping, do whatever you do. We provide that statewide door to door.
So John, you and I have known each other a while. We're kind of neighboring
Yeah.
states here. You've been CEO for over a decade here. Tell us about kind of your career, your legacy, because I heard a rumor you might be retiring.
Yeah, so the rumors are true.
Okay.
I am retiring beginning of July. So I started my career right out of college in 1993. Actually, I did a summer internship before that.
Wow.
And so it was originally the part of the Railroad Administration, and then when Delaware Transit Corporation was formed in 1995, we brought all the transit agencies under one roof. So I worked through contract bus operations, I worked through facilities, capital projects, all those types of things. I got into performance management, looking at how the agency operated, and about 12 years ago I became CEO. Transit, I never thought about this coming out of college or what my career would be. I was a mechanical engineer in school.
Oh, yeah.
I did some civil engineering work too. Somehow it gets in your blood, right? And once you get involved in it, you live it every day. And as I grew in my career, the responsibilities change. Obviously, the roles change. You grow from being the taskmaster to actually making sure, creating a vision for what the corporation needs to do. Where do we need to go in the future? We've gone through a lot of things. Economic crisis in 2008, COVID. COVID really changed our business, as we all know. But it's been a long haul. It's been great, but it's time for something new. This is a 24/7 job, right? You know that, you did it. It can be a little bit much on you, but I also think 12 years as a CEO in one organization straight is a long time. I think there's opportunity for new vision, new leadership, and I'm excited about Lilia Montoya, who's here now. She's going to be shadowing me for the next month or so. She's asking me great questions, talking about her experience and things she's done, and oh yeah, we might be able to do something different here, right? And do something different. So she's going to do an amazing job. We have an amazing team here that are just super excited about the next step.
We have something interesting kind of on the Northeast United States. There's a bunch of state agencies like New Jersey Transit, CT Transit, Delaware, Maryland, that are state agencies.
Yes.
How does that work?
So it's really cool. So as a CEO of Delaware Transit Corporation, I report directly to the Secretary of Transportation, Shante Hastings. And I sit at the table with the Dept leadership team, and we truly try to integrate into a multimodal transportation network. It creates partnerships, whether it's through snow removal and the departments making sure they prioritize bus routes to get cleared and do those types of things. Just this morning, I sat on a value engineering committee for a roadway expansion project to make sure that pedestrian, transit, multimodal aspects of highway projects are being really considered and thought into what we do. And so we're not on an island by ourselves. I've formed great relationships over the years to make sure that we just, back when I started my career, I might have gotten a little frustrated and called them the highway department because all they thought about was cars and trucks, but it's not that way anymore. And especially in Delaware with the leadership from Shante, we make sure that every ride is critical. Safety is paramount in what we do. So my safety issues are integrated into the highway road safety issues and all the other things that happen. Just making sure, a transit rider is always a pedestrian as well, as we all know that. So how do they get to our system matters. And, and we see, you see the uptick on, we used to call it non-motorized transportation, but these e-bikes, these e-scooters and everything else are so critical to the integration of what we do. So they're getting to my system on these these little motorized vehicles, and how do we make sure that they do that safely and so everyone gets home alive?
Oh yeah, that's great. Well, this has been great, John. I know we're going to hang out some
Yeah.
today. You're going to show me around some other sites, and I'm excited to talk to your incoming CEO. Why don't we go out and talk to her outside?
Sounds like a great idea.
All right, thanks, brother.
Paul.
Yeah. Well, Lilia, excited to have you here on the show with us. This is like your first week, right?
My third day.
Third day. Wow.
day.
What'd you do the first day? John just told me a wild story about what you all did with the DOT kind of experience with all the leaders.
Yeah, with the Dept leaders, and it was with our secretary, and it was wonderful. We climbed the Inlet River, 350 feet, about 25 floors, so you can imagine.
Like on a ladder, you climbed up the bridge?
Yes.
What was that about?
It was literally
Team building?
Well, it was definitely, but a quick way to build trust, collaboration,
Yeah.
and definitely
And
courage.
show you one of the state's assets, right? That's a
Yes,
big state
and,
asset.
I mean,
yeah.
But once you hit the top, it was breathtaking, and it
betcha.
was just refreshing.
I've driven over that. It's a fantastic bridge. And you know what? It highlights what John and I were just talking about, is the intermodal nature of a state agency, where you're working hand in glove with State Highway and with all the other administrations.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had that in your past experience? What's been your past experience?
Actually, it's been an amazing experience.
Yeah?
Believe it or not, I started my transportation career in heavy rail.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and so I spent 8.5 years with the Class 1 railroad for 8.5 years, and then I transitioned over to the public sector. So therefore, I've had a little bit of experience, or maybe a lot of experience over 2 decades in heavy rail, public transit, and school bus.
School bus.
Yes.
That's something. And what attracted you here to Delaware, to the East Coast from out in California?
It was amazing. It was just a matter of opportunity, and honestly, when I came out for my interview, it was just driving into the state, perfectly clean, not one bit of trash on the highway, and it's green.
It's green.
It's green, but
Yeah.
also the people are lovely.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yes, as the employees here.
And have you ever had a Dartley? Come on over, Dartley.
Love Dartley.
All right, high five, buddy. Yeah, so this is a great, I think, fun way to introduce transit. You talked about school kids, maybe think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Introduce them to the concept of getting on transit, having fun.
Yes, I think it's a great concept also, to teach children about the value in public transit.
Yeah, yeah. So what are you excited for coming up? You're just getting on the ground here in Delaware. You've moved out, I guess?
I have 5 days in the state.
Lock, stock, and barrel, you're here, huh?
I'm here, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting. So this is an exciting time, right? Have you ever been a CEO before, and what are you excited about?
This is my first run as a CEO. I have been a deputy CEO. I've been chief operating officer as well.
Oh, look at that.
But I've grown in my career, and it's been valuable experience, a lot of learning. And but I'm really excited about living in Delaware, learning about Delaware, and there's definitely different changes as far as legislature from the West Coast to the East Coast.
Yeah.
But the most exciting part is really learning this system here, and I'm really excited about the collaboration with Dept and how we work together. I mean, it's been a very warm welcome, and I really love the feel that the employees and everyone has, the way that everyone has embraced me. So
That's great.
It's been very nice.
Something that's really great, I think, I would have loved to have had this when I was a CEO. You've got a month to overlap with John. So he's kind of showing you the ropes and introducing you to everybody. How is that, having a month where you can kind of come in and work alongside the CEO as he begins to retire?
It's an interesting question. I think that agencies normally try to build a succession plan, and to have this is really an honor to be able to work with John and to have that seamless transition and to be able to see and learn about projects that are ongoing, and also, things that are pressing at this time, and then, our pinch points and also our successes. And so I want to be able to lead and to follow through with that, so therefore we don't have that gap. So in my 22 years in the transportation industry, this is the first time I've had this valuable experience. And so therefore I hope to be able to continue to advocate for to have something like this for the future.
Yeah, yeah. Kudos to the state for having the foresight to do this. It's really a model, I think, for the industry. What's this deal up here, John?
So that's our infotainment system. We installed it a few years ago, and it's really a tool to help us communicate with our customers. As a former transit CEO, how to connect with your customers is challenging. And so this does a lot of different things. Traditionally, buses have audio announcements, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, this brings visual to it as well. So if someone has a hearing impairment, they'll see the things that the bus is saying. It also allows us to, put alerts out about public hearings or things very specific to a route. You can run a route detour for a very specific route up there.
Oh, yeah.
We can talk about some of the goodwill stuff we do. It can be a revenue source selling advertisement.
Okay.
So it's really multifunctional. We can do things in English and Spanish. We can do multiple ways of doing things if we know the community and the needs. So it's just, I remember starting my career, we used to run around and post up, hey, bus stop closures, public hearing notices, and all those things which were really labor intensive.
Yeah.
So this really helps bridge that gap and do a lot of stuff. So right now there's a thing up there about our customer survey that we just launched on Monday.
Okay.
So it's a QR code. You can click the QR code and take our customer satisfaction survey.
Oh, right here on the bus.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah. And so instead of having pieces of paper out there, and then we can change things out at an instant. So it's really, really convenient.
And you have this on all your buses?
All our fixture out buses.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
And who controls the messaging?
So our marketing team.
Okay.
In the back office.
Oh, I know somebody there. I think her name's Larissa.
Yeah. And our team, they do an amazing job. So they program what's going on. We have a contractor that helps us sell advertising, whether it's a bus wrap or internal ads.
That's good.
They've done some with the lottery and some other areas to do some ads that way. And we expect that to continue to grow. You can show the route tree of what your next stop's coming up, all those different things. So it's really convenient.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Trey, I know a statewide agency like this, you go into a lot of the jurisdictions, like Rehoboth, and do you all have special working relationships with the cities and the local jurisdictions?
Absolutely. DART, we actually have a resort advisory committee where we invite all the local communities, especially down here from Rehoboth, Lewis. We invite Bethany, Fenwick, and Ocean City, and we all meet twice a year, and we talk about our services, what they need, so we can make sure that we're meeting what they desire for the bus to do.
Yeah.
So it's been very helpful. Right now, we're really working closely with the city of Lewis. They have a parking problem, so what's best to solve a parking problem, but it's transit service.
Of course, yeah.
So we're working with them now to see what we can do to better, help them manage that issue and benefit us with riders at the same time.
That's great, because I know a lot of places, their big concern is they don't get communication to them about what's happening. So you make sure that doesn't happen here, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
We're definitely trying, and we have found that Rehoboth has been a great partner.
Oh, yeah?
So yes,
great.
they keep us informed most times of what's going on, and we like to keep them informed, and we really work really closely with them.
That's awesome.
Welcome, Paul, to the University of Delaware. We're sitting here at Lerner College, the Business and Economics School here at Lerner, here at the University of Delaware, and I run the John L. Weinberg Center for Corporate Governance, which is right here as well. So welcome.
Good. You're the perfect person I need to talk to.
Oh, good.
So, we're doing the show on Delaware, and everybody around here knows Delaware is like America's corporate capital. I think like 2/3 of the Fortune 500 companies are here. So you're the perfect guy to answer why. Why is that? Why is this the corporate capital?
Well, it's been that way for 100 years. And,
Okay.
and the short answer originally was that New Jersey used to be the corporate capital, and then it gave up the privilege because it started to crack down on business and do a lot of things that were unfriendly to business. Delaware said, well, what if we copied their old approach and maybe they'll come here? And that's what happened. So Delaware copied the original New Jersey approach, which was very flexible, so businesses could organize themselves here and then pick and choose the governance devices that best suited them. Size of the board, composition of the board, frequency of meetings, shareholder voice, shareholder voting, on and on down the list. Delaware made it very flexible for companies to choose from a menu of options, so companies could tailor their governance system to suit themselves. And then the state built up around that a very skilled judiciary. So when participants had disputes about how those rules would work, they could go to those courts and get very sophisticated, informed, impartial rulings about who should win. And so that just has been a compounding machine for the state of Delaware, the combination of flexible rules and then really skilled judges has been magic, and just sort of gets hard for other states to copy after a long period of time. We also have a very good corporate bar, so it's a fun field to practice in. for lawyers, so very skilled corporate lawyers like to practice in Delaware, and it's obviously just a beautiful state. So
That's interesting. So you've got like the corporate governance side, the laws, then you've got a court system and you've got good lawyers. Is the court system that court of chancery I've heard about?
yes, exactly. It's the Court of Chancery, which is a couple centuries old, actually. But,
wow.
And it was the group of lawyers, sophisticated lawyers who became judges who would resolve these disputes. And what's special about that court is that it doesn't sit with a jury. So it's just the judge herself or himself, again, a fluent business person, lawyer, who is able to understand, think about the evidence, think about the arguments, weigh it very carefully. It's also it's known as a court of equity, which basically means that it is equipped to grant any remedy imaginable. So not just an award of damages, but a mandate to perform some act called a order of specific performance, or to prevent some act called an injunction. And so it's got a wide range of remedies to try to do justice, to do equity in particular cases. And so that's been a really valuable part of the arsenal. And one additional thing that's also important to note is we also do have a Supreme Court of Delaware. It's much younger. It's 75 years old this year. We're celebrating that actually tonight. So it took a long time for the state to figure out we should have an organized, a proper appellate court, because Chancery had just done it on its own, and I think they'd had an informal system of if a disappointed litigant wanted to have a second shot, they would get an informal group, a panel of the other chancellors to sort of have a second look. But 75 years ago, it decided, we ought to have an appellate court just like all the other states have done. And that court is also very sophisticated in business. It takes this corporate franchise very seriously. The judges, while they are generalists, they must know about criminal law and real estate and so on. Most of them, most of the time, are also very skilled in corporate law. So that adds a layer of sophistication that helps to explain the state's leadership in that area.
So we're here in the Weinberg Center for Corporate Governance, and you lead it. What does it do?
Well, in two words, what everyone says we do is thought leadership.
Okay.
So what that means is we focus on corporate governance, obviously, and some of the reasons for Delaware's leadership around the menu of rules that it offers, the sophistication of its courts, how they execute their job. So that's sort of the substance of what we produce thought leadership around. We try to interpret, understand, and contribute to how it might change and get better. And this Weinberg Center is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. It was the brainchild, really, of a group of the Delaware bar and bench back in the late 1990s, who thought it would be really valuable to have an academic forum where the bench and the bar and the academy could exchange views on these topics, which can get contentious and can be complicated. And given that it's litigation, you can have a plaintiff's group and a defendant's group. And this leadership thought we ought to have a place where we can all talk and exchange ideas in a very civil, sort of academic way. So that's what we've been doing for 25 years. So we convene gatherings of prominent participants in corporate governance, not just in Delaware. We bring them from all across the nation. I mean, it's really recognized as a national center. And we publish papers and articles, essays, surveys that try to inform the field. We bring in guest lecturers and speakers. We engage here at the University of Delaware with other departments of the university, especially the Public Policy School, which interacts with our subject to a great deal, as well as our history department, which also is very important to understand contemporary governance through the lens of where we've come from. So it's a very energetic and engaged group. It's a small office here, but we like to think of the center as the broad community. So the bar, the bench, professors in Delaware and beyond are all sort of part of the center.
Larry, in addition to being an attorney, you're also an accomplished author, writing 20 books. Amazing, man, on business and corporate governance. You've studied Warren Buffett a lot and great corporate leaders. I was wondering if you could share with us some common themes that you've seen in leaders of companies and in the companies themselves.
Yeah, sure, happy to. I know I've said a lot about anniversaries, but here's another one. I started working with Warren and publishing that book with him 30 years ago this year. And I was inspired to produce that volume. So he was famous as an investor, but he was also a leader, a manager, and a governance guy. And so I was running a governance center at a former university, and I thought that I need to focus on the overlap, the intersection, between governance and finance, or between leadership and investing. So that's what that book came to be. And I have studied Warren as he's evolved over those decades and identified other people who have either consciously or accidentally emulated parts of his skill set or toolbox. And that led to my wife and I writing a book together called, and it's called Margin of Trust, the Berkshire Business Model. And that's the answer to your question, is that what unites Berkshire and the other companies that are like it, and the leadership of those companies, is a very high premium on trust. That is, they like to go into business only with people that they trust. Any whiff of doubt about a person, they prefer to pass.
Really?
So, yes. And then when they enter into business with a person, whether hiring them as a CEO or investing in them as an investee or partnering with them in investment, they then, because they have that trust, give that other person considerable autonomy and let them call the shots in their zone where they know best. They're closest to the customer, closest to the product, or closest to the problem, rather than having a decision directed from headquarters or from some supervisor or several layers up. These leaders try to devolve or decentralize decision-making into the hands of the people closest to the decision. And so Berkshire is famous in that way. So it's acquired 80 plus businesses in lots of different industries, and it will only buy the business if it's led by someone they trust, a CEO with impeccable background, honor, integrity. There are lots of ways they test for that. So, but
It's not just their opinion, they're testing.
Yeah, they're really testing. I mean,
Okay.
they're looking deeply into the eyes, but then they're also, and they just have an extremely high standard. So as I said, any whiff of doubt, if there's a sort of some blemish on the record, they say, no hard feelings, but I can't go into business with you. So at Berkshire, the CEOs of all those subsidiaries have virtually unbridled autonomy for pricing, product mix, even capital allocation and things like that.
Like real estate company and the travel company. I mean, I've dealt with them some.
Yeah, you've seen them. I mean, they touch transit. I mean,
Right.
Berkshire, they'll get the BNSF railways, a kind of transit, I guess. It's not moving people.
Freight rail,
it's freight, but that's right. So the leaders of that business, they make decisions about safety rules, personnel, benefits, pricing, how to deal with, tariffs and all that other stuff. Berkshire isn't involved. We in that book, Margin of Trust, my wife Stephanie and I also identify, I think, a dozen other companies that follow that primary principle of trust.
Okay.
And they might apply it in different ways, different degrees of autonomy and decentralization, or different systems. But that seems to unify this very special cohort of companies.
That's very interesting. So as someone who's an expert in corporate governance, I know that corporations and boards are dealing with things like AI, right? There's all kinds of other issues affecting corporations right now, technology. What are some best practices, or what are some thought leadership that you're working on in that area for corporate board members?
Yeah, it's a great question, because AI is absolutely top of mind for a lot of people, and tech, which includes cybersecurity, which is a very important priority of many boards. And boards, I think the shorter answer is that boards are increasingly expected to be knowledgeable about and responsible for a growing collection of topics. So AI and cyber, also the environment, climate, human resources, in addition to the traditional stuff about leadership and succession and accounting integrity. And so I think the biggest challenge is, how do boards handle this increasing complexity and scope of expectations? And I think the best boards really try to prioritize and recognize they can't become experts or specialists in all these areas. They have to maintain a sense of general perspective and rely upon and engage experts. And that could be managers at the company, or experts that they bring in to give reports. So we might say, have a report on cyber from the chief information security officer at the company, at a board meeting, and then right after that have a person from one of the big 4 accounting firms that specializes in cyber, and sort of test the communication and educate ourselves on any gaps between what our company seems to be seeing and what the specialist, what the expert seems to be thinking. So, but just trying to maintain a sense that the board operates at a fairly high level. We do have to get into the weeds. Sometimes we have to be very careful not to miss the forest for the trees. So I think that's our biggest, the director's biggest challenge today overall.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for spending a little time with us today. We really appreciate it, especially this perspective on Delaware. What an amazing state, man, for corporations and business. It's amazing.
Thank you very much for coming. It's great to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure. Thank you, Paul.